The demiurgic, perverted act, which is called the creation. What goal could it pursue? Only one, it seems, to feed the Creator. After all, everything devours itself. The stars, galaxies, animals, plants. In the end, the demiurge himself devours his creation. But he, too, in the exhaustion of universal energy, would have to die due to lack of food if the gods who had become his prisoners were not immortal and without ability to recover from eternal sleep. And besides, the very eternity is the backup time. The demiurge is aware of this, and therefore seeks to spread the corruption that people usually call creation as wide as possible. The prisoner god who allows the demiurge to start everything anew each time is Kronos Saturn. And then the same thing repeats again, because the energy of the demiurge, his creative imagination, are strictly limited. He does not create anything from nothing, but only poorly copies a pre-existing spiritual creation, perverting it. This spiritual creation is invisible neither to him nor to people, but he still manages to turn his creation into stone, throwing on it the fabric of his plagiarism, his evolutionary gravitational explosion. In this, we should look for an explanation of the eternal return and its immutable laws. Enslaved, deceived gods immerse themselves in the circle of eternal return to start a battle there, in which they put their energy, their immortality, and the prospect of a new acquisition of their totality at stake. A step, jump from one life to another is equivalent to a transition to another state of consciousness, an instantaneous change in the mental situation. If you look from our space-time complex, from the world of our slow energy, from the womb of Kronos, such a transition will be similar to the instantaneous appearance of a UFO from infinitely distant spaces. Perhaps on this basis, Werner von Braun argued that flying saucers appear from the most distant galaxies of our universe. Vira, a hero who has become a slave and the prisoner of the eternal return, uses his power and the ability to go out the same way as he came. From now on, he is forced to rotate inside his circle, to die and be born, just like retarded creatures of undivine origin. This is the law of the eternal return, based on the limitedness of demiurgic energy, and with each new reign presenting fewer opportunities for triumph and liberation. From the Golden Age, Satya Yuga, to the Iron Age, Kali Yuga, there is less and less energy, and life is getting shorter and shorter. One day, the Lead Age, the century of absolute, total slavery, a special fourth or fifth state will also come, when there will be no possibility of salvation and return whatsoever. Nietzsche regarded the eternal return as a consequence of the mechanicalness of this universe, but he also spoke about the noon of revelation near the Zarathustra cliff, in the mountains, where the experience of the eternal return of the same thing was first obtained. Nietzsche intuitively felt something that was not dreamed of by even the greatest utopians. He felt the presence of other universes governed by other laws, and perhaps even without laws at all. He could not tell us about the greater because he lost his mind, blinded by the beam of one of the gods in the service of the Demiurge, who was shaken by the great danger of exposure that Nietzsche embodied. But we will continue what Nietzsche did not have time to do, and we know that for the hero there is a way out of this battle with a sword in his hand. It is found at the moment of the midday revelation, next to the cliff, where the three ways of Zarathustra appear: Ida, Sushumna, Pingala. It is here and now that the whole volume of what is repeated in the eternal return should be experienced in one moment, concentrating on this all the efforts of the heroic will. After all, never again in any of the turns of the big wheel, taken in its sequential development, will such an opportunity be presented, or such a concentration of consciousness achieved. Perhaps such an exceptional revelation happened because suddenly the god-prisoner Kronos, the divine counterpart, came to our aid, froze, and momentarily rushed in the opposite direction, using the self-confident carelessness of the Demiurge, who was convinced of the absolute victory of his own. Kronos himself knows that he will be freed as a result of our victory, as Prometheus was freed by Hercules among the rocks of the Caucasus. Nietzsche, just like the Buddha, did not consider it necessary to have a soul in order to return to this world after a short pause of death. This is due to the very mechanical laws of the eternal return. Primordial Buddhism, native to Kshatriya, the warriors, the military Buddhism of Gautama, the prince of northern India, has much more in common with the Nietzschean doctrine of the eternal return than with the concepts of reincarnation and metempsychosis. Comparing the eternal return to the circle which rotates in time, as on the Tibetan images of the demon, in whose stomach turns, repeating and returning to the same point, the wheel of life, we must remember that it is primarily about the unity and the return of substance, since the form, on the contrary, varies depending on the different epochs of return, which we have called its rings. The theme remains the same, only the arrangement changes. The same circle is repeated, constantly narrowing, as Kalpas, Manvantaras and Yugas pass, forming a downward spiral, as it were. as if dressing up in different bodies and clothes in the eternal return. One and the same story is repeated with the same meaning, with the same logic of events and the same development. Only the epoch, the environment, the bodily forms are replaced. The spirit of these forms remains unchanged. In these incarnations, I was destined to either defeat or disappear. The destination of this journey through incarnations in limited forms is my family house, my kinship and descent, and today it has reached its great midday in Nietzschean revelation at the Zarathustra rock. And if I cannot get out with a sigh of time at the moment of the hitch of the god Kronos to achieve something unthinkable, impossible perhaps, although I am not sure about this, the archetype will be embodied one more time. Although this next incarnation will never be so intense. Let us approach the essence of this mystery. Not just the I incarnates, but some archetypal He, which in the case of the final triumph will be we, androgen, myth, legend, archetypical story. And in the experience of living in this mythical story, the I, which bears and embodies, feels repetitive, returning, involved in the very eternity of this story. So Nietzsche, in the moment of higher enlightenment, before entering the night of his own reason, blinded by the ray of Kronos Saturn, caught off guard, declared himself Dionysus, Caesar, Christ, and the crucified. He knew that he was each of us. I am each of us too.